It was the year 174 AD. The skies above the Danube frontier were choked with ash and cold wind. The northern tribes had united, furious, wild, relentless, and had crossed the river with one purpose: to burn Rome's outposts to the ground. But far from the marble of the Senate and the opulence of Rome's palaces, one man stood with the legions. He was no general, no warlord. He was the emperor, Marcus Aurelius. That night, in a damp military tent stitched with years of battle and sweat, Marcus sat cross-legged on the hard ground. The candle beside him flickered violently in the wind. In his hands, a wooden tablet, half covered in wax. A stylus rested in his fingers. His face was worn, but calm. The empire was bleeding. His own health was failing. And yet, he wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Not exactly the words you expect from a man at war. But Marcus was different. He didn't write to impress others. He didn't write to pass judgment. He wrote to survive his own mind. He wrote to hold the chaos at bay. He wrote to remain himself. That night, a young officer entered the tent. "Sire," he said, "the men are anxious. The enemy surrounds us. Some speak of retreat, others of rebellion. They say we will not make it to morning." Marcus didn't flinch. He looked at the young soldier and asked, "And what do you say?" The officer hesitated, then with brutal honesty said, "I don't know what to believe." Marcus stood slowly. He moved to the entrance of the tent and pulled aside the flap. Outside, the snow fell like ash. Fires burned in the distance. The silence of death hovered. "Come," the emperor said. Together they walked through the camp, past the sleeping soldiers, past the wounded, past the frozen corpses of those who hadn't made it through the last skirmish. They stopped near the outer watch. Marcus picked up a handful of snow, held it in his palm, and let it melt. "You feel that?" he asked. "Cold, harsh, real. That is the world. That is life. It does not change because we wish it to. It does not become fair because we are tired. The snow doesn't care that we are Romans. The enemy doesn't care that I wear a crown." He paused. "But here is what matters," he said, tapping his temple. "In here, you are still free." The Stoics taught, we do not control what happens, but we control how we respond. That is power. That is freedom. That is Rome. The soldier remained silent. Marcus continued, "Courage is not loud. It's not in the battle cry. It's in staying, in holding, in keeping your virtue while the world around you breaks." Then, in the cold wind, the emperor smiled faintly. "Let them surround us. Let them roar. But if we hold fast to discipline, to reason, to..." And in that moment, something changed in the young man. Not because Marcus gave a speech, but because he lived his philosophy. He was cold, tired, aging, and still unshaken. That was Stoicism in its purest form. Not recited, not quoted, lived. That night, the soldiers didn't retreat. They fortified, they resisted, and days later they pushed the enemy back across the Danube. But that moment, when one man, alone in a tent, refused to be ruled by fear, was the true victory. So if life surrounds you with doubt, if the storm rises, if the world seems colder than you expected, remember Marcus, not the emperor, not the general, but the man in the tent, writing in the dark, leading with reason, and choosing virtue over fear. That is the Stoic path, and you can walk it too. If this story inspired you, subscribe to the channel. For more lessons from the ancient Stoics, told with clarity, fire, and truth. This is your home. This is the Stoic Code.